Coming up on today's show,
I'm fighting for my future.
To make a better world.
Mini totalitarians.
Oh,
please.
After the massive effects of climate change in my home village, my parents had to sell off our land and livestock to sustain our lives. And when the money was over, it was a question of survival and death.
We are seeing nature striking back, and this is a very serious problem.
People are suffering. People are dying.
The president says more than 1,000 people may have been killed.
All over the world, people are starting to realize we're in a race against time as the planet heats up.
We have only 11 years. Don't let 2030 be 2030.
And are starting to fight back.
As students, as the elderly, as everyone that is on this earth, we need to fight for what we are standing on.
What do we want?
Climate justice!
When do we want it?
Now!
The truth is, wealthier nations will be able to protect themselves. But here in South Africa, we don't have that luxury.
A warning from a UN expert who's saying climate apartheid is coming, where the rich pay to provide for themselves, but the rest of the world suffers.
Well, we South Africans know a thing or two about fighting apartheid. The next generation of activists has arrived. Let's get away. As we saw in our previous episode, when government and business are causing so much of the problem, can we really trust these guys to fix things?
World-class oil and gas discovery.
Cleaner coal energy.
All of this with the global warming and that, a lot of it's a hoax.
After all, the Balis will be dead and gone when we're still living in this apocalyptic wasteland. That's why young people across the world are rising up to hold their governments accountable.
Young people get it. What they're saying is adults are behaving like kids and we are being forced to behave like adults.
You are not mature enough to tell it like it is.
The fossil fuel company, they burn coal, they release methane into the atmosphere, they frack, they drill for oil.
If too much of it causes a bad effect on our environment. Scientists tell us we have 11 years until the point of no return.
Factories make all our clothing and stuff, so without the factories, we can't really live. But the factories make the climate change in the first place, so I think we should really think of a new idea.
Wow, okay. These kids have done their homework.
Call me when you catch up.
Last year, a Swedish teen called Greta Thunberg stopped going to school on Fridays to hold what she called a strike for the climate.
At first, I was all alone, and then people started joining me.
Now she's inspired youth across the world to join her in a movement called #Fridays for Future, and South Africa is no exception.
What do you want? What do you want it?
Please tell us, why are you here today?
I am here today because I'm fighting for my future.
It's a problem where we live and we just want to spread the word.
To stop climate change and to make a better world.
Climate change esikolweni.
It's about 2%
We're not learning enough.
What can ordinary South Africans like you and me and other young people do at home to reduce climate change?
The only thing we can do is just use our voice.
Come together as this group.
To change the system, we need to be united and we need to be organized.
We must change our climate change. We must change our climate change.
The movement clearly has some grown-ups rattled.
What we want is more learning in schools and less activism in schools.
Teenagers can get a little hysterical.
It's all a little melodramatic. It's not end of the world stuff.
It's a movement that attracts the haters and the mini totalitarians.
But it hasn't been to those meddling kids.
But the kids are only listening to this dude.
We must act urgently and decisively now.
Who now? No one important. Only the Secretary General of the United Nations.
I'm kind of a big deal.
We asked one of the activists we spoke to at the march to join us in studio for a conversation about climate action in South Africa.
I felt compelled to do more as the youth, and especially as a person of color. More white or privileged people were taking action against climate change. It wasn't because it was affecting them the most. It was maybe because they were more climate literate and they knew how to voice out their opinions.
We were also joined by Tatenda Muponde, a lawyer based at the Center for Environmental Rights.
Around the world, countries are doing something about climate change. They're stopping these developments. They're becoming more aware we need to do something about it. And we do see our government in some instances
where they're supposed to actually advocate for a low carbon economy, making decisions that are carbon intensive. So for example, with the CR, we do have a case where a new proposed coal mine in a sensitive area in Mpumalanga has been authorized. And at the same time, there's a strategic water source area that feeds most of South Africa. We did get a win there because last year the High Court said, minister wasn't supposed to make such a decision. So it stopped.
And who was the minister? You have to tell us. You have to name and shame who the minister was.
I'm not quite sure now.
We'll go back. We'll check the receipts.
We'll check the receipts.
Youth around the world are also using the law to fight climate change.
This week, 16 children from around the world submitted a legal complaint about climate change to the UN Committee on the Rights of the Child. And amongst these children was Greta Thunberg, as you probably are aware, but more importantly, one of those children was our very own Ayakha Melithafa. So Ayakha, tell us more about this milestone.
It's basically us, the youth of the world, every child of the world, taking the world to court for actually not protecting us.
It looks like climate lawsuits in future are going to make 2019's courtroom sagas look like an episode of Judge Judy.
Oh, please.
Another way to accelerate change in South Africa is by targeting the big companies directly and publicly shaming them.
Shame.
This is a tactic called divestment, which was famously used to great effect against companies in apartheid South Africa.
The logic could not be simpler. If it's wrong to wreck the climate, it's wrong to profit from that wreckage.
Literally the greatest idea I have ever heard in my life.
So far, over 1,000 institutions worldwide have taken their money out of fossil fuel companies and reinvested in renewable energy. And it's catching on in South Africa too.
But Cape Town is the first city in Africa and in a developing country to make this commitment to divestment.
Pretty much everyone in SA either has money in fossil fuels or knows someone who does.
It's us.
So imagine what could happen if everyone took action tomorrow.
I think it's taken a long time for shareholders to become cognizant of the connections between their shareholdings and the impacts of the companies that they're invested in. But once a wave like this starts, it can happen very quickly.
It is not only up to governments to be the decision-making factor that will change the course of history, but it is individuals who can make those governments make those changes.
Believe it or not, those words which are so relevant today were spoken in 1992 at the world's first ever global climate change summit. Since then, humans have doubled the amount of carbon emissions we've put in the atmosphere. And those who currently benefit from our fossil fuel-based economy the most know their time is up.
Children are being mobilized to demonstrate on streets,
take your vote and go to hell!
In parliament, in corporate headquarters, campaigning against our industry and oil. This is perhaps the greatest threat that is facing our industry going forward.
We have come here to let you know that change is coming, whether you like it or not.
The fight for South Africa to remain a livable country in just a few years from now won't be an easy one. You might be one person, but the choices you make really do matter. Be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell to never miss a video. Until next time, stay woke, stay aware.